Chains rattle broken, now we rise. Flag in my hand, stars burn the skies. Truth ain't dead, though the liars try. They scream loud, but the words all die. God's watching hands. Praise to the throne. Freedom ain't free. Blood built this home. Continue freedom, keep it alive. Red, white, blue, we bleed to survive. The brave who fight and strive. Continue freedom, keep it alive. Land of the free, ain't bending the knee. Truth in my veins, it's all I see. Patriots roar, no fear in the fight. Continue freedom, stand in the light.
And we're back for another live stream. Thank you guys so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. We got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about Tennessee, and they passed it, the 9-0 bill to remove the last remaining Democrat seat. Really wild. What's the takeaway? First up in the chat, here we go. Ahoy, good to see you. Welcome aboard. And I've got a little surprise for you guys, by the way, for Tennessee. In honor of Tennessee, my great state of Tennessee. I love it. Born and raised here, left here, came back here. But Bill Lee, he signed into, YouTube didn't send notifications, it seems, takeaway said. I was worried about that. You know, I didn't make a post. I was about to. When I realized I was going to actually be able to go live, it was so late. I said, well, I'll just throw it up and hopefully you guys would see it. So so goes the world. I've been really hit hard with the YouTube not sending notifications. But it is what it is. This is the world we live in. Unfortunately, YouTube is still the platform to do everything on. So here it is. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee has officially just signed a 9 Republican, 0 Democrat 2026 congressional map, thanks to the Supreme Court outlawing racial gerrymandering. Hooah, hooah. And in honor of that, I'll only play it briefly. Let me know in the comments what state you're watching from or what country. But for those of you that don't know, in Tennessee, this is our song right here.
Wish that I was on old Rocky Top down in the Tennessee hills. Ain't no smoggy smoke on Rocky Top, ain't no telephone bill.
Okay, that's enough of that. I'll give you guys a snippet. I won't make you listen to the whole thing. What's this? Yay, made it for a live. Unfortunately, I can't stay long due to back-breaking gardening. Well, you have fun with that, Canna Michelle. You enjoy yourself with that one. Okay, and then Lash says that I got a notification, usually don't. It's weird. You never really know. You never know who's going to get them and who isn't. That's okay. Thank you guys for coming back. That's why I always say you just got to check in every now and then. Okay, Canna Michelle is from Commie, Washington. Oh, yeah. Y'all got it bad out in the Northwest. Okay, so this was obviously Governor Lee. He signed it into place. Just kind of as an update, and let me give you a rundown on what we're going to talk about tonight before I go any further. We're going to talk about this. We're also going to talk about this Hantavirus or Hantavirus. I can't remember how they pronounced it. And people are already spinning this into a big deal. Some of that, in my mind, I'm like, this is a little weird. There you go. Sorry, I'm distracted by the chat. Once again, I'm watching from San Francisco, California. We have too many songs to pick. The number one. There you go. Oh, goodness. San Francisco. Oh, gosh, you all have a ton of songs in San Francisco. We got the one. That's really the only, there's not really any other Tennessee songs. But we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about the Hantavirus, and then I'm also going to show a snippet from an Andrew Wilson debate with Alex Jones' son. And it's interesting because it perfectly lines up. I found it this morning, and I said, you know what? This is great. He's basically making the same argument I was making yesterday, and yet I think he did it better. But it's oftentimes easier when you're in a debate or in a conversation back and forth with people to make a point than it is just straight here looking at a camera. So we're going to go through some of that as well. It's going to be enjoyable. You guys are going to like it. Thank you so much for joining me. So here we are. We've got California +5, Utah +1, and still Florida. This is what it's looking like it's going to shape up to be. is Florida +4, Missouri +1, North Carolina +1, Ohio +2, and Texas +5, for a total of 14 Republicans and 6 Democrats. The pending ones are Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Tennessee. Tennessee is already done. They gave it a potential of 83%, went through with no problem. And the freak out has been real. I'm talking real. I've got a ton of clips I'm going to show you. The left is losing their collective mind in the Tennessee Capitol. It's wild. Oops, here we go. Let me pull this up. So just to kind of point this out to everybody, and you guys know this, but for the folks that are new to this channel, this is kind of what's happening for the people that are the entirely anti-Trump. Look, plenty of criticisms for President Trump. That's just being being fair-minded to say we have to criticize where actual criticism is due. But these people who are pushing back against him, they're trying to convince people that Trump has zero support across the country, and that just doesn't pan out. I showed the 26. This is the one in Indiana. President Trump is 6 for 7 so far tonight. This was a few nights ago, but it wound up being 26 total pro-Trump people beat out the anti-Trumpers. And Greg Walker, who's in Indiana, he's the one who voted against the redistricting, and he loses. People like this, and I gave you guys my opinion yesterday. I've given it, I think, multiple times now, but I hate that we're in this redistricting fight. But the premise behind it is a good premise. It's a good premise that we don't need the gerrymandering along racial lines anymore. Not in 2026. It's entirely unnecessary. And somebody just reminded me, because they hit the like button, feel free to hit all those. If I can make my graphic come up, feel free to hit all the free buttons below. I guess my graphic's not going to work. I normally have a little graphic that pops up. Hit the free buttons below. There it is. And it helps the channel, helps us in the algorithm. We are a growing channel. It's awesome. And we got one of the best chats on the internet, I swear. So yeah, this is a popular thing, this redistricting. But Tennessee, here we go. In the Tennessee Capitol, they're going nuts. They're losing their ever-loving minds. Let me pull it up so you can see it. It's no fun to watch it alone here. Oh, the left has absolutely swarmed the Capitol. Were any of them complaining, by the way, when they were doing this in Virginia? No. Snake. Let's see if I can find the one. There's the one that it's them just whooping and hollering. Oh yeah, okay. There's the one of let's see. Here we go. I think it was this one. Where's the one of the guy trolling him? Tennessee Democrats, that's the one. Let's see, Senator. Well, this is the senator, the state senator, jumping on the table like an infant, like a toddler, throwing a temper tantrum. This is the behavior of the people. By the way, as we discussed in the show yesterday, this is what they're saying. Just vote for that. Well, just vote for that. Vote for the left. Vote for this. This is what they say to vote for as a protest vote. Just vote left. Everybody vote Democrat. No thanks. Let me find the one. There was one that was really funny here. Oh, here we go. This is the one right here. Wearing Trump flags. It's just a troll. That's all it is. It's a troll of the left. Oh my goodness. And so one of the guys that's really made headlines is Representative Justin Pearson. And I actually did a video a while back on Justin Pearson. And I'm going to play some of just how he talks. First off, we're going to talk about how these people are frauds. The left are absolute frauds. They're caricatures is what they are playing. And we've highlighted it, and I'll highlight again tonight. Jasmine Crockett and Hillary Clinton and oh my goodness, Kamala Harris. These people are complete frauds. Here you go.
These maps are racist tools of white supremacy at the behest of the most powerful white supremacist in the United States of America, Donald J. Trump. Memphis is the most beautiful place on the planet. It's the place that raised me, my brothers, my parents, my grandmothers, and where my ancestors' bones rest. And what you are doing today is eviscerating the only black majority congressional district in our state because we are majority black.
Your skin color doesn't matter. Sorry, I've never bought into the identity politics, and I never will, whether that comes from the left or the right. I do not buy into identity politics. That this kid who is, look, let me show you. Here we go. Let me play this. We've got a couple things to show you on this guy.
What is wrong with you?
Very dignified people.
What is wrong with you?
Very dignified people. By the way, here he is. This is why I say he's a caricature, and there's a lot of caricatures in the Democrat Party. This is him.
For president of BSG. There are a few reasons that we're running this campaign this year. One has to do with representation. How can we represent all voices in a conversation?
I like this guy, by the way.
I want to do this by partnering with organizations from the Bowdoin Democrats to the Bowdoin Republicans. I want to bring together different voices, dissenting voices, voices that may be more liberal or more conservative, in order that we can reach a point of sort of the radical middle.
Seemed like the NRA and gun lobbyists might win. But oh, that was good news for us. I don't know how long this Saturday in the state of Tennessee might last. But oh, we have good news, folks. We've got good news that Sunday always comes.
Justin J. Pearson, and I'm running for president of BSG.
Whatever happened to just being who you are? Be yourself. Yeah, these people go to these elite universities. They go to college. They are, for a lot of them, from prominent upbringings. I don't know all the background on this guy, but this is a very well-spoken person. Here, to get into politics, Democrat politics, you got to play a caricature. You got to be something else. You can't just be yourself. You got to play to what they believe is the lowest common denominator. Perfect comment right here, which is exactly where I was going next. Want to be MLK Jr. speech pattern. Changing speech patterns. Pretending to be something that you're not. All to play to the lowest common denominator. And Jasmine Crockett did the same thing. I'm going to play a few examples because this is very prevalent on this particular side of Democrat politics. You guys might have seen this video before. If X player wants to play.
No one could have told me that when I went down to Austin, now it looks like a little bit over a year ago, that I would be running for Congress. It's just not what my plan was. But what I've always decided is that I would step up when there was a need. Because we in these hot ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess, honey. So
I don't get it. And this by the way, Jasmine Crockett, just as an example, for the 2025-2026 academic year, she went to Mary Institute and St. Louis Country Day School. Today is a $26,000 to $37,000 a year tuition. That's not. It's playing a caricature. Why do people on the left, if you're on the left, honest question, why do you buy into this? Why do you not look into this? Because I think I saw some folks that were down in the chat that are on the left. Democrat talking points. We got a lot of folks that are not on their side, and I'm okay with that. But somebody made a comment down here. I honestly want your opinion. Why are you okay for people playing a character? Kamala Harris did it as well. Here, give you another one. I was trying to find the Hillary Clinton clips, but because you remember when she went in front of people and she was doing trying to speak basically like Ebonics.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time. Because what we know...
She's Jamaican and Indian. Does it not frustrate anybody? I know it frustrates a lot of you folks down in the chat. I'm seeing it. Yeah. Stuart, you said it. Hillary did it too. Yeah, exactly. And when she did who was she doing the interview with? Was it with Charlemagne, I think it was Hillary Clinton doing the Charlemagne thing where she said, "Oh, I carry around hot sauce in my purse." The fake. They're all fake. I'm not saying that Republicans are entirely better, because there's a lot of people who get in and then they flip the script. There's a lot of people, but by and large, they're not pretending to be something that they're not. They're just saying the right things. They're not changing their accents, and it's like they don't become thespians once they get into Congress. Some of them I'm sure do, but it's just so prevalent on the left, particularly with folks like this. And back to this Pearson kid. I call him a kid because it's what he acts like. So this Pearson kid, he they play on the victim mentality, which is, and I've had conversations with people. In fact, I've been on, there was a show that I used to sit on fairly often on a panel, and there was a bunch of folks out of Chicago, and they rant and rave about people doing this all the time. And this kid is playing a victim. He's never been a victim. This, let me see here. Let me pull the comment down here so you can see it. So he's never been a victim, but he's playing a victim. He's never experienced the Jim Crow South, but he talks about it and rants and raves about it. They always compare it to this is the new Jim Crow. This is Jim Crow 2.0, right? He's got more access to tuition, loans, grants, etc., than any white person does in the state. I know this for a fact in Virginia. When I first came to Virginia, went back here after I left active duty, and I was starting a small business, I was looking for grants and loans. I was seeing what's available from the state, from the SBA, all of these things. Because I was not a person of color, because I was not a woman or a Native American or whatever, there is nothing available. You couldn't do it. You couldn't find it. There's nothing out there for you. And, this is the power and the influence that the soft, ooey gooey politics that we run on right now. This is what you get. They tug on people's heartstrings and create an environment that isn't actually true, that doesn't actually exist. And I know people, look, they treat it like it's unique, that it's unique to the black community. Poverty is not unique just to the black community. Now they have a very high level of poverty. A lot of that we could get into the cultural conversation, and a lot of people get super uncomfortable about talking about it. I just don't anymore. I really don't. And but I know people in rural parts of Tennessee that are dead broke. They don't have access to the same things that other people do. That's why all these racial lines that they constantly want to draw, I don't buy into them at all. Like none at all. We have now set an environment of equal opportunity. And when you start injecting race and divisions on race, whether that's voting or loans or SBA approval or access to schools. Well, look, they fought it in a court case at Harvard because they were changing SAT requirements for people depending on their race and ethnicity. And Asian students, it was 200 points higher than white students, and black students were 200 points lower, something to that effect. That's not a fair standard. We are past the days of doing that. And if we want to progress forward, we have to do so based on merit. And so because the Democrats use race and they use the victim mentality to divide us, it's very easy for them to try in their own minds to justify racially divided voting districts, which helps them wield power across the country because they have a mind capture on the black community. And it almost created for the guys I was talking about up in Chicago that I was I've had multiple long conversations with them. It's a thing that they're trying to break through. There's organizations like I think it's Flip Chicago Red and other things that are trying to get people out of the victim mentality, but get people to start voting more conservative, to start voting red rather than blue. They're trying to kill the mind virus. But as long as they keep us divided simply on racial lines, it's much easier for them to continue to wield power. People are waking up to it. Look, there's a lot of people waking up to it. I do respect. Let's see. MTG was in response to Republican false cadence now. Let's see. Middle class, general population, who are the majority of the population, suffer the most. That we definitely bear the burden. We bear the brunt of the cost because look at our tax system. The majority of our taxes are paid by the upper class. the highest percentage based on number, highest per capita, is paid by the upper echelons of our society. The middle class takes on the bulk of it, and then the people that are in the lower echelons don't pay any. So they are a net negative, and they try to balance it out with our tiered tax system. And yeah, you're right. The middle class is the one that ultimately bears the brunt of it. It's a very good point. Yeah, it was. And look, this is a silly comment, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. So here's what it is people will say, I don't know what side of politics you're on, but when we talk about DEI hires over on the right, we say it's not about DEI hires. It's about people based on their merit. And Kash Patel got it based on his merit, or at least perceived merit. I haven't been entirely happy with everything Kash Patel has done, how he's handled everything. He hasn't turned out the way I wanted to, and hadn't turned out to be the FBI director that I wanted him to be in every sense of the word. He's done a lot of good stuff, but he hasn't done everything, and he definitely hasn't done everything right. But they say, oh, what's that, a DEI hire? No, that's not a DEI hire. I mean, what's his name? Hang on, because I was going to bring him up here in a minute. Bhattacharya, Jay Bhattacharya. Is Jay Bhattacharya a DEI hire? No, he's a brilliant doctor, the most famous doctor in America now, and he's running the CDC and the NIH, 2 organizations. In fact, there's when we get to talking about this hantavirus thing, I'm going to bring him up, but he is an amazingly talented guy who understands the difficulties the medical community is going through, and he's trying to restore some faith in some governmental systems like the NIH and the CDC, which have lost a ton of credibility. But they say, well, is it a DEI hire? No, it's not a DEI hire. He's just a very accomplished person. It was the first administration in a while that has been based on merit and not based on immutable characteristics that tell us nothing about your ability to perform the job. So I'm going to play one last clip here. And this is just to show how the left is treating this redistricting. One more here, and then I will move on to the next topic.
This is equivalent to a second civil war. We're going to have to get our act together. As everybody's saying, we're going to have to resist with every fiber in our body. We're going to have to take this system on at every election, because it's not just members of Congress. We're talking about state legislatures. We're talking about county commissions. We're talking about city council.
Down to city councils.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, I mentioned this before, that we, when the redistricting started, and again, for us, for conservatives, for Republicans, we look at it as, well, we're just taking away things that are relics of the past. We don't need to have districts drawn strictly around race, because that's not our MO. That's not what we're on board with, and it's not necessary anymore. The left says, let's draw them in whatever creative way we can to eliminate the votes that way. And that's why theirs get stopped in the courts. And obviously all these, across the states, whether it's in Florida, in Louisiana, in Tennessee, they're all going to go into the courts and they're going to try to fight this. But some people have said that this is why Trump wasn't too worried when people were talking about the midterms and some of the things he's been doing, especially with Iran, that he just didn't care. I've heard a couple people pontificate that, well, maybe that's because he said, well, we know these cases or that this case is going to be overturned in the Supreme Court, so we aren't going to have to worry about it because we're going to gain 14 seats. I don't know that that's necessarily true, but that some people have speculated that might be the case. But the question that made me think of when I heard about this Hantavirus is it even going to matter? Because this was how everybody jumped to it when we heard about the cruise ship. So if you don't know, there's a cruise ship that I think it's, let me pull up the numbers here. Hang on, let me get it to the right page. This is from CNN. Yeah, here we go. So it says the health authorities across several countries are racing to trace and contain an outbreak of the hantavirus after the WHO said Thursday that 5 confirmed infections have been identified among people connected to the cruise ship MV Hondius. 3 people, a Dutch couple and a German national, have died since the vessel departed Argentina last month. The first suspected case was a 70-year-old Dutchman who suddenly fell ill on the ship with a fever, headache, abdominal pain, diarrhea. South Africa's health department told CNN he died on board on April 11th. So people were just going straight to the conspiracies about it. Admittedly, when I hear of a virus, this is what I want to talk about when it comes to the medical community. That's where my head went as well. I said, you know what? It's the midterms. It's the midterms. Now there's a virus. The online chatter starts going nuts. People are saying, this is it, this is it, this is it. And I did too. I said, it's too convenient. Here we are in the midst of a redistricting battle. We're coming up on the midterms, and now we've got a virus. Is this going to be another, well, hey, you're going to have to vote from inside the house. You're going to have to stay inside. We got to do mail-in voting again. And that's why I thought, does it really matter? But this is, let me play the one from the WHO. Let me pull this down. So this one tells us some about it. There was another one that I skipped over the video and didn't pull it up. We'll play the head of the WHO. Again, I have to do this because of YouTube. We're not talking about the V word, about those injections and all this stuff. That's where people go with it. I'm not talking about that. I'm not a healthcare professional. I'm simply playing the head of the WHO. Let's play this and then we'll
have been reported, including 3 deaths. 5 of the 8 cases have been confirmed as Hantavirus, and the other 3 are suspected. Hantaviruses are a group of viruses carried by rodents that can cause severe disease in humans. People are usually infected through contact with infected rodents or their urine, droppings, or saliva. The species of hantavirus involved in this case is the Andes virus, which is found in Latin America and is the only species known to be capable of limited transmission between humans. In previous outbreaks of Andes virus, transmission between people has been associated with close and prolonged contact, particularly among household members, intimate partners, and people providing medical care. That appears to be the case in the current situation. The first case was in a man who developed symptoms on the 6th of April and died on the ship on the 11th of April. No samples were taken, and because his symptoms were similar to those of other respiratory diseases, hantavirus was not suspected. The man's wife went ashore when the ship docked at the island of St. Helena and was also symptomatic. She deteriorated during a flight to Johannesburg on the 25th of April and died the next day. Samples were taken, which were tested at South Africa's National Institute of Communicable Diseases and confirmed as hantavirus. The third death was of a woman on the ship who developed symptoms on the 28th of April and died on the 2nd of May.
So it's a very short window. And I thought, I don't even know what the hantavirus is. So I went to everybody's favorite place. I went to ChatGPT, right? So this is what ChatGPT tells us. Let's see if I can get it to pull up here. Oh, come on. My ChatGPT links have not been working well lately. Let's paste it in here. Okay. Come on, internet. I know you're working. All right. So this is where the fear came in. So HPS is a rare, but hang on. So HPS is a rare but very serious viral illness caused by hantaviruses, which are usually spread through contact with infected rodents, especially inhaling dust contaminated with mouse urine, droppings, or saliva. In the Americas, the lungs. So these are all the symptoms. And then I asked what the mortality rate was. That was what I included in it. It was like 35 to 40%. So when they start coming out saying that, hey, it's going to be these high mortality rates, there's huge risk, people start freaking out, because after what's the code word for it? The vid, we'll just call it the vid. People were saying that it was going to turn into a more and more deadly virus, right? And it spawned people. Some of the conspiracy theorists will lump Alex Jones into that one. This is what he throws. He says, lockdown alert, globalists launch COVID 2.0 as hantavirus spreads worldwide. EU's tell citizens mask up, stoking hysteria. Just like a light switch, when they start to turn off this Iran war, they flip the switch with the hantavirus. This is what he says. So he's spinning people into a frenzy. And there's a guy, again, this is what sucks about talking about these things, which we should be able to talk about. You can't, because the tube doesn't allow it. The tube will go back and retroactively ban people. So you have to be very careful. I'm not going to say this guy's name, but he's got 1 million followers. He was on Joe Rogan. He was a pretty prominent voice during the vid when all that was going on. And he says your odds of being struck by lightning are more than 7 times greater than getting the hantavirus in the U.S. About 250 people get struck by lightning each year. There are about 35 cases per year of hantavirus in the UEA, with about 12 deaths per year on average. Obviously, hantavirus shouldn't be a big concern for the vast majority of Americans. So you get the two ends of the spectrum, and that's what we are left to decipher. And normally we would go to the medical community, but we all automatically assume some sort of nefarious intent with them after what happened 6 years ago. Can you believe it's been 6 years? And this is why, I'll pull up the guy's photo. If you don't know, you need to look up Jay Bhattacharya. I listened to an interview. I can't recall what channel it was on, but that interview by Jay Bhattacharya was a very good one. He's with him taking over the CDC and the NIH, two very different organizations in their goals and ambitions, or not goals and ambitions, their roles and responsibilities. But he's just that much of a workhorse. And he was talking about the need to restore some faith in the medical community. And we've gone to the polar opposites of this. When we should be looking to them for some sort of advice, we have people that are on these extremes with it. And it's either the left says that big pharma and doctors and all these people are evil because they're profit-based, but you should get everything that they tell you to get and do it, with your kids and anything and everything else. The right says that it's, big pharma is evil, so that's one place that they agree, but then you should never get anything at all ever and never take anything ever from the medical community. I don't think either one of those are the correct answer, obviously. The left said that, we've taken medicine even to the point of unaliving people. When you talk about medical assistance in dying, medical MAID, as they call it in Canada, it's doctor-assisted suicide. This doctor-assisted suicide is taking a profession of healing and turning it into a profession of destruction. So naturally, that's going to cause these people, this profession, to lose a lot of its credibility. And that's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing for humanity. It's a terrible thing for us. And over here on the right, we're looking at the left, and the left is not just saying to do it at the end of life, but they're saying to do it at the beginning of life. That it's okay. That when they treat, Planned Parenthood as medical people, they're not. It's not what they are. They're not doctors. I mean, technically they are. But these are people who have turned a profession of healing into a profession of death and destruction. So they've set the stage for us to have zero faith and confidence in them. And that's troublesome. So I'm not giving any advice on this. I'm just apprising you to the situation. And, we'll continue to learn more. But I still, the conspiracy-minded, or the conspiracy part of my brain, let me just put it that way, to put it very simply, still says, be aware. Be aware. Is this going to get spun into something? Because it doesn't have to legitimately be something. It could be something that is used, leveraging that fear, like we've seen them do, for power and control. Could that be something? Is it going to be this one? Probably not, but maybe. So it's like you can't turn it off, but we also have to recognize that there are people who are trying to rebuild faith and trust in the medical community. I hope that makes sense to everybody. I was going to talk about Nick Fuentes a bit, because we talked about Nick Fuentes yesterday and this whole movement over on the right, which is not the right, but people telling us that we need to be voting Democrat. And I came across a debate that Andrew Wilson had with Alex Jones's son. And I guess this aired, I think it was like 6 days ago, but I just came across it this morning. I thought this would be an interesting one to show. So if you guys if you enjoy Andrew Wilson's content, I don't know if you do or not, but you know, I could take him or leave him sometimes. However, you can't deny that he's an amazing debater. And for the folks that are on right now, if you haven't done so, feel free to hit all the free buttons below. This is the last time I'll bother you about it until we get to the end of the show, but I'd really appreciate it. It helps the channel grow and helps us in the algorithm. So let's go ahead and play this, and I'll probably stop along the way, but yeah, I'll stop along the way. Let's listen.
Those people. So I have a hard time where you're bringing up the war and you're referencing it and you're kind of giving points to Trump while you're saying that you have this anti-war stance. I just find that to be inconsistent.
Me getting Owen to put his position out on the table is exactly what you're supposed to do in a debate. Me asking Owen, what is your position here? What about this? How does this coincide with that? Is exactly what I'm supposed to do during a debate. And it's exactly what I did. And it's exactly what I've done in every debate that I've ever done. I'm not going to yield any ground in a debate. It's a debate. And it's perfectly acceptable for me to critique your position, dive into your position, and make sure that it's consistent with what it is that you're saying. Owen, for the most part, I'll even grant that I lost that exchange. I'm actually fine with that. But for 90% of that debate, Owen only appealed to emotion. He didn't make any arguments. And he actually agreed with 90% of my positions by the end of the debate, especially when it came to... You can have these critiques, and it's fine to have the critiques, but don't pretend that I'm running around being a war hawk or acting like Iran is good or any of this. It's just nonsense.
I wouldn't say war hawk. I'd say compromiser, right? Because anything is worth defeating the Democrats. We must defeat the Democrats at any and all costs. So this conflict, you talk about the 7 weeks, you know, it's only been 7 weeks. You know, it's worth it to you in your mind if we defeat the Democrats.
Well, can we untangle a couple things? First of all, politics is about compromise, like it or not. We live in a democracy. Do you agree that that is, in fact, the case? It's not that I love that, but it is, in fact, the case. In order to achieve power in a democracy, you have to have blocks of voters.
I hate to disrupt this while we're in here, but somebody brought up a comment before I move on. I have to address it. I have to address it. My apologies. I don't typically do this, but no, there are not. Nope, they're not. This is the case that is made, and I know this is a wild departure from listening to Andrew Wilson and what he was just talking about, but I saw it and I have to address it, and I don't want it to get lost in the comments. Let me pull this up again. There we go. There are times when abortion is necessary. No, there are not. There is no time where an evil act, and I guess you're talking about what's the term they use? Grape or incest, things like that. That an evil act happens and therefore you can justify another evil act. It doesn't, because you can't deny that it is taking the life of an infant. 100% full stop, no questions asked. That is what you were doing. Even people on the left will, you know, the abortion doctor who just a few days ago, I played the video of her. She was in Congress, and the congressman was asking her which version of abortion she preferred, and she would not answer the question. She would not answer the question because she understands that what she is doing is an evil thing. She understands exactly what that procedure does. And that, because an evil happened to a person outside the womb, doesn't justify any action that you want inside the womb on the innocent person that exists inside that woman. And that's just consistency. And there's crisis pregnancy centers and other places where women can get help, counseling. There are, options for adoption and all of this. And one evil as atrocious as something like that is, doesn't justify another evil for an innocent human being. There you go. Sorry, I had to address that one. Back to the show. And I do, by the way, get to I try to get as many of the comments as I possibly can once we get towards the end of the show.
You tell me how you can attain power absent a voting block? How?
That's a good point. Look at the boomers, right? They vote for the end of this war and the death and the Christianism every time. So you
Can
do
you answer my question? How can you have power without a large voting block in a democracy? How?
Well, obviously you can't.
You can't, exactly. So if that's the case and you can't have, without a large voting block, any sort of institutional power, all you're doing is saying that you have to compromise. That's literally what you're saying. If you want power, you have to compromise.
It's kind of like two pimps. I think the Republicans are just as evil as the Democrats. I think the Republicans are prepared. And here's the thing. You can say this isn't true, but, you know, there's also no precedent for the initial Iran war beginning. I think that the Republicans are prepared to send tens, if not hundreds of thousands of troops to do a ground invasion. You could say that's ludicrous. You could laugh at that and say it's a joke. But, you know, we weren't at war. February 28th.
A ground invasion would require a troop buildup, which nobody is seeing happening anywhere. There's no troops on the border ready for this. There's no troops being moved in mass anywhere for a ground invasion, at least thus far. Now, you can speculate that there's going to be a ground invasion, but what did I say my red line was? If they do a ground invasion and continue the Bush doctrine, I'm out too. That's a red line that I cannot surpass, because ultimately, at that point, if we get into another elongated Middle Eastern conflict, which would last 18 years because we're trying to police Iran, then I do think that domestically we would suffer so badly that the GOP might actually need to be replaced. But in this particular case, no. Democrats, I'm not giving them power. Nothing, ever, under any circumstances. They're monsters. They're monsters.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I can totally understand that position. Nobody understands that position better than we do at InfoWars with the free speech persecution and all of it. And like
well, not InfoWars anymore.
Whatever you think of us, whatever you think of the situation, like it's wrong what's happened, right? So I understand what they can do when they're in power. However, this religious death cult that's been empowered and the fervent support of it and the engagement of that support rising and pushing it further to where the president becomes more delusional and thinks he can do more of these things like sending people back to the Stone Age or destroying an entire civilization. These are not normal things that I think can be supported or squared with.
Look, the left's been saying for years that Trump is unhinged with his tweets and this and that. Nobody gave a just a few short, nobody cared just a few short years ago when this guy would say all sorts of unhinged things. Now suddenly they're clutching their pearls about it because he's doing something they don't like. That's fine. You clutch your pearls about it now, he's doing something you don't like. But let's not pretend that Trump's True Social has just been like a bastion of very hinged behavior, or when he was on X that it was either. That was one of the things that people loved about the guy.
Has he been talking about, besides the Fifth Avenue thing, which maybe he's right about, by the way, about him, the guy on Fifth Avenue and getting away with it. Like, has he been talking about destroying civilizations for, you know?
Oh, yeah. Remember, to the victor go the spoils, right? To the victor go the spoils. There's all kinds of things Trump has said, which has alluded to the fact that he's not afraid to use the United States military to keep opposition to the United States. Nobody went into this thing not knowing that Trump was literally nobody. In fact, Fuentes' biggest critique of the coalition around Trump was that Trump was a communist, and we knew it, and we were going to elect him anyway.
To defend that position, I'm asking.
And by the way, when it comes to the whole destroying of civilizations, has he done that? And the answer is no. When it comes to Trump, and I still don't understand how folks don't, like, they can't read him. They can't read Trump, despite having been exposed to him since he came down the escalator. It's been a decade. How in the world can you not read him and not understand that this is his rhetoric? It's up here. His delivery is down here. His rhetoric is up here. The delivery is down here. It's consistent, like gravity, like the sun rising and falling in the morning. This is part of his negotiation tactic. I would destroy an entire civilization tonight. Did he? No. What are we doing right now? We're trying to work on a ceasefire. We're trying to find a way to the end.
All right. So do you tell the average voter? So the average voter is not like watching a show like this or watching a Nick Fuentes or whatever. Average voter knows very little about politics, right? So do you tell the average voter who's like, I voted for that guy because I really cared about no new wars? You tell that guy, sorry, well, you should have known about Trump and his actual real positions. You didn't know when the guy promises he's not going to do something and then he does it. Aren't you allowed as a voter to get a little upset about that, a little angry?
Yeah.
Why aren't you?
Wait, I don't understand. I've said how many times now that I'm not for this war, that I don't support the war. What do you want me to do? What should I do? Should I walk down the road with a big sign that says Trump and Iran? Like, what do you want me to do here, man? You're coming into an election cycle, the midterm elections, with Democrats who are going to impeach the guy. Now, maybe you think he deserves to be impeached. I don't know, but they're going to impeach him no matter what. And they'll do it under any grounds that they can do it on. And if they do that, you're going to lame dunk him for the next 2 years. They're going to pack the Supreme Court, and that's the truth.
That's the best argument I've heard.
Because it's a great argument. That's exactly what's going to happen. And they go on to talk about it. I'm going to address another comment down here talking about the abortion situation from a lefty. We got a lefty that likes to pop up in here every now and then, which is fine. It's perfectly fine. But yeah, if they get back in, they are so frustrated. They're so furious with Donald Trump that, yeah, the first thing they're going to do is run roughshod over the Constitution, as they do, because to them, it's no different than Charmin. Charmin, or the rug that they put in their mudroom. That's what they think of the Constitution. They will run roughshod over it. They will do whatever they can. And just like Trump in his first term, he spent so much time trying to undo, and granted, then he was new to the system. He spent so much time trying to undo what they did that he couldn't get done the things he wanted to get done. And he did that in his second term. He was able to undo it, but he knew how to do it much more quickly. And so in addition to the Democrats hating him for doing that, he was also then dealing with this faction on the right, that Alex Jones's son and the Nick Fuentes's and, whoever else you want to pick, the Myron Gaines and all these knuckleheads over here, that they started attacking him as well. So I know we're going back to, I'm shuffling back and forth, and I hate doing that, but I'm going to bring up this. Private Pooter, interesting. I think you commented on another video that I'm a piece of S for telling a woman she should have a baby because of, and I shouldn't have put that word up, I'm pathetic. Well, you are for wanting to take the life of an innocent child. How about that? In fact, I would say you are far worse, because mine doesn't involve violence. It doesn't involve murder, which I don't even know if that's the word, if I can use that word on YouTube. Again, censorship sucks. Let's keep going. But here we go.
Be totally honest and fair. That's the best argument I've heard for all this garbage. And that's a good argument.
Because that's what they're going to do. They're going to lame duck him. They're going to pack the Supreme Court. They're going to roll back the progress we made on Roe v. Wade, the progress we made with redistricting, the progress we made with Chevron, the progress we made with all of these court decisions that came from the high court. We had a high court decision that said that the local courts, the local federal courts in California, could no longer make policy for Texas. That was a massive victory for us. Huge. People don't ever even talk about that. Massive victory. He's had 3 times the amount of injunctions against him when it came to immigration policies any other president who's ever existed. They've made injunctions for him just sending out the National Guard to support federal buildings when Antifa lunatics were killing ICE officials.
By the way, he mentioned Chevron, and Chevron was a case that when it was decided, I was whooping and hollering about it. That personally affected my family. My dad, at one point in time, he had a small piece of family property, and he wanted to rebuild. His business had to close. He was trying to rebuild his business on this piece of property. And when you have, if there's basically what Chevron said was, if there's ambiguity in a law, then the bureaucrats get to decide how to clear up that ambiguity. It doesn't require, it's basically made these little dictators inside of the bureaucracy. And it tied him up and cost him a bunch of money that he did not have to try and develop his own land, because some little EPA person with white tennis shoes and a clipboard came in and said that the irrigation ditch he had dug a decade ago had turned his field into a marshland, and therefore he could not build on it. And he fought that in courts, it was constant. It was a fight, a battle. That was something he had to deal with. And when Chevron was overturned, it took the power away from the bureaucrats. And that's a massive, massive win. And things like that happened because of Trump's Supreme Court appointees. But they don't want to talk about that. They can only focus on one thing. This is all these knuckleheads were focused on, is one thing.
It's like everything this guy does, they have hamstrung in every way possible. And heading into the midterms, I'm not about to do that. I want him to be successful. Now, I'll give some grace here. I thought what Trump said about your old man was bullshit. I did. Okay, I know that Jones was a huge supporter of Trump, and I don't think that he deserved that. 100% don't think he deserved that at all. But that aside, right, I know going into this election cycle, they're going to pack the court, and I know this because that's exactly what Carville said they're going to do. He was most recently, I think it was, he literally said what the agenda is. The agenda is to pack the court, and that's exactly what they're going to do, and we are, man, bad if that happens.
That's the best argument I've heard. I still vehemently disagree. For me, it comes down to the foreign policy and just the complete and abject betrayal that I can't accept, no matter the domestic justification. I'm also mad at some domestic things as well, particularly data centers and kind of the monopolistic deals that have been made. Deals.
I got a question for you, Andrew. This isn't part of the debate, but to shine light on some of the positive things that Trump has done, which I'm guessing you're trying to shed light on those things. What are the wins that you feel like he's had?
Well, I just gave you a ton of court wins, but we also have, and let me tell you this, and I'll make this as blunt as possible. If you had a crystal ball and you had been able to look in the future and see that Trump was going to do an 8-week quagmire with Iran, and it was going to cost some American troops their lives, and innocent people were going to die, and it was going to fuck up your gas prices for a while, but that would lead to net negative migration, most people would have taken that deal. And that's the actual truth. Most people would have taken that deal because getting net negative migration into the United States has been a dream of mine and yours and every other right-winger since time before time forgot.
I know Tim just asked you the question, and I appreciate you answering that. I just lost my train of thought. It's all good. It's all good. We appreciate it, by the way. We appreciate coming on.
I got no beef with you. I'm just kind of here spectating the argument. I think you guys are both making strong positions on things.
I can't justify the foreign policy. Nothing justifies the foreign policy to me. Just the lying and the brazenness of the lie. I think it's pretty unforgivable. But you make the point of like, well, where is your alternative? And I do have to agree. There is
Trump up. I'm not going to make excuses about that, but
that's the situation.
Yeah, Trump up. But even if I take into account Iran and I take into account the bungling of the files, both of which nobody's been more critical of dumb Pam Bondi than me. In fact, in the same debate with Owen Schroyer, they asked me what was the biggest criticism you have of the Trump administration. I told them they're too pro-woman. They put this lunatic in the office of faith. They put a lunatic in the office for the Department of Justice, right? He's way too pro-woman, and they can bungle everything. I 100% agree that is the case. But I will say this, ultimately, right? If I have those two issues versus Democrats packing the Supreme Court, undoing all the progress that we've made over the last, by the way, this was not over the last 8 years, right? We're talking about the last 12 years. It's like, I'm not doing that. No way.
Well, so what you present, I think you're right. Most people would take that deal. They'd say, all right, we'd have the temporary pain, but you can't say it's 8 weeks. You can't say you'll know when it stops. There is no break on the train. This is the entire, this is the thing about picking and choosing and declaring like we know the future. Like your argument actually kind of precipitates.
Wait a second. This was the whole thing that they stood on, was this is a forever war. It's 8 weeks in and it's a forever war. So they're predicting the future. But if you say it's been 8 weeks, they say, well, you can't predict the future. What's your whole platform? It's the whole thing that you're standing on. It drives your entire worldview, guys. Is that Donald Trump got us in a military, or initiated a military conflict, and it's a forever war, and it's and as opposed to 458 weeks of, or I think it was 458 weeks for Afghanistan. Somebody had made a chart that it's 8 weeks, and it's on the same level. Excuse me. Goodness, let's keep going.
You know the future because you think that it's going to end.
Like, I am not a soothsayer. I have to go off of the information that I have right now.
Conflict, and you kind of like that's kind of implied that it's going to remain a short conflict.
No, well, look,
that's what you said.
Yeah, the implication here is simple. I'm not a soothsayer, and neither are you. Right this second, what has a conflict been? 8 weeks, maybe 9, right? And it was winding down at week 7, at least with some type of negotiation happening almost right away with the new Iranian regime.
During negotiation in the past, it means nothing.
Yeah, maybe not, but I'm just pointing out to you that I'm not a soothsayer. I cannot make a prediction that this is going to go on for 2 years, 3 years, whatever. What I can do is say objectively that right now they're in negotiations. It was only a few weeks, the conflict, and I'm not willing to bury Trump and have the Supreme Court packed and have these lunatics take over office over the Iranian conflict. I'm not willing to do that. That doesn't mean I'm for the conflict, though.
Why can't we have an America First candidate that comes in like a 2016 Trump that's against all of this for real?
Why they don't have the coalition for it? That's the problem.
I don't think that's true. I think a lot of people disagree with you on that one, that we don't have the coalition. That's a coalition that got Trump elected twice in 2016 and 24.
No, it's not. Listen, here's what happened. Why did Trump run as a Republican?
I was right.
Why did he run as a Republican?
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, let me tell you, he ran as a Republican because I was there too. And he ran as a Republican because they had the infrastructure to get him on the ballot in all 50 states, run a massive ground campaign against Clinton. And if you know anything about the Clinton war machine, Clinton was being funded by Goldman Sachs. She was being funded by heavy money from every sector of the economy. They did not want Trump in there the first go around at all. And he needed that infrastructure in order to win. And he needed it the third time he ran as well. He needed that critical infrastructure. When I'm talking about infrastructure, Rex, we're not just talking about the idea of, there's lots of groundswell support. There was for Ron Paul. Okay, there was for other candidates as well. There's good grassroots support for these things. I'm not disputing any of that. But when I'm talking about infrastructure, I'm talking about the infrastructure necessary to get you on the ballot in all 50 states, to run a massive $100 million+ ground campaign in order to combat the Democrat war machine. And no, you don't have that.
This is this was the point that Charlie Kirk was making when I've talked about this. The people who say that there needed to be a third party, or we need to have a three-party system, or we need to start a new party from scratch, when they would debate Charlie about this, because everybody's frustrated, myself included, with the uniparty, his plan was, let's rebuild it from the inside. And I forget who he was debating this with, but he said, we got to rebuild this from the inside because the infrastructure exists in the Republican Party. Building something from scratch is never going to be as successful. People try it and try it and try it, and all it does is it's going to split the vote one way or the other. And typically, in most cases, it's going to split it in favor of the Democrats. And as Andrew has pointed out, rightly so, giving the Democrats power means they will take another piece of the Constitution. They will take another piece of power away from us, away from the electorate, and try to entrench themselves by, be it packed courts or redistricting or whatever else it happens to be. And we can't allow that. We can't survive that. Which is why my rant and rave about the midterms all the time, because they're actually pretty stinking important for Donald Trump to be able to keep going. Plenty of critiques to be had. We're never going to have this perfect president. And I think that's the naivete of some of these people. Well, if we just get, it's like the left, when they talk about socialism. I think it was Jordan Peterson that said, so he was in a debate with somebody. He said, so if you were the benevolent dictator, you would be able to make it happen. And then so said every dictator who's taken over in a socialist government, right? It's like, just give me all the power and then I can do it. They're assuming that that's the way it's going to go. But it takes the whole human factor out of it. Socialism takes it out, and these other people do as well. We have caved politically to the left for my entire life. Our country has just moved in a more liberal direction. I don't like it. I hate it. I think it's terrible. That's what gets us the massive amount of spending. It's what has racked up debt. Every taxpayer in America right now is $350,000 to the federal government. Every citizen, it's like 175. I'd have to look back at debtclock.org. But the debt is massive. It's because we've caved to the left. It's because we're not getting enough reform to spending. Congress has a role to play in that as well. But Charlie Kirk was focused on getting the right people into office. People who are more principled and not the ones who are just there to partake in all the joys of the swamp, to swim around in the slop. And it's not going to happen in 4 years. I think that was the other naive thing for a lot of, honestly, when it first started, I was wildly optimistic, and then I tempered my expectations a bit. But we're talking about turning around this massive corrupt machine, and it takes a massive amount of effort. It takes a long time. It takes a solid political movement that can carry us through multiple elections, not just one. And they say, well, it didn't happen in the first 3 months. People on the right, they start attacking him, and then all of a sudden we're a year and some change in, and they say just start voting Democrat. It's ridiculous. It's foolish. Especially since it's in complete opposition to your average conservative's worldview. And I don't, again, they're having the debate here. I don't think that the influence of those people is as high as we would think. I think there's some bot stuff going on. I think there's social media hyping it up. Who controls the algorithm? The left controls the algorithm. That's why Candace Owens gets pumped on YouTube, even though she says stuff that would get any other commentator banned. I think that there is a component of the tech oligarchs that are pushing this because they know it's going to divide the conservative movement, because they also want the right to be divided. They want us to lose the midterms, and they obviously want us to lose the next election.
Filler. Like, there's no positive solution that can ever come out of anything. It's just the machine. It's just the system. We can never overcome.
I was going to ask you guys a question. You guys both can answer this. In a perfect, ideal situation, let's say, you know, the money's not a problem, the platform's not a problem, just so I understand your political views, what would need to happen, or what would you wish to happen as a result of after the aftermath of everything that's happened?
Not, first of all, this is not a black pill. What's happened is American political enfranchisements are really stupid, and they don't look at American history. The emergence of political parties happened as a direct result of universal suffrage. The second you universalize suffrage and you give everybody a vote, here's what happens as a consequence of that. In order for an individual to have power, they have to develop blocks. It would actually stand to reason you would end up with two primary blocks of power, because if one person consolidates more than 50%, you're not ever going to be able to have power. And so that's why you see this correlated issue. Political parties are an emergence and came from an expansion of suffrage. As long as we have universal suffrage, you're going to have a two-party system, and that's that.
So you're against women's suffrage, women's right to vote?
Not just women. I think universal suffrage itself is a mistake. Men and women, it's a mistake. Our founders didn't like it. Our founders hated it.
Standard on property, that type of thing?
What's that?
You have to have like the original standard, like you own property?
Maybe not that. Maybe you could just be a net benefit to society, meaning you don't take more from the welfare state than you are providing in social safety nets, or positive plus for taxes. Perhaps you could do one household voting. There's all sorts of different ways in which you can attack that problem. But you cannot break the back of the two-party system absent.
So you think you're going to be able to bring that worldview to the Republican Party? Is that more likely, or would you be able to create a new party that has kind of that political ideology? Do you believe more in the reform of the Republican Party, or do you believe in like that? Because that sounds radically different than what we have right now. How are you going to implement that in your paradigm of our political system? How's that?
Right now, what I'm talking about when I'm talking about this type of thing, right, is so new to people's ears because they have so little understanding of the history of the United States and the emergence of the two-party system based on universal suffrage, which came about due to, first we had the Articles of Confederation. After the Articles of Confederation, we unionized. After the unionization happened, the mass expansion of voting rights was on the docket due to the fact that certain people and demographics wanted to have more power. They wanted to have more power blocks. We used to have polling taxes. We used to have, you had to be on a fire brigade to vote. States used to be able to govern that. And what happened was a Supreme Court ruling, which took something that had to do with people and had nothing at all to do with women or expanding voting, and they screwed the whole thing up. So the Supreme Court is now beginning to reinterpret these laws, and that's what I want to see them do. That's great. But no, I'm not going to be able to start a third enfranchised party. The Libertarians have tried it. They failed. The Green Party has tried it. They failed. Every party that you point to who goes up against the Republicans and Democrats fails. And that's because at the end of the day, if you, the individual, want to have power, you have to join a voting bloc. You have to.
So
all valid points. With the suffrage thing is interesting. I've been researching this, and it's a component of some of our problems. And again, universal, not talking about just women's suffrage, universal suffrage, but the vote, when you have buy-in, then you actually have a vested interest in what government takes control. Let's, as an example, if you are a working class person and you are a net positive to society, you would typically want, most people will typically want, the things that are provided by the Republican Party, by a conservative movement. If you are a net negative and you are reliant on the government system, you're going to be more inclined to vote, or almost entirely willing to vote with the people who are providing you with that social safety net. But regardless of the party, the social safety net has been there forever. It's never been taken away, and I don't think we're a long way away from ever taking it away. But I think that once the standards start to change a bit, and we say, you know what, these are limited. You have to prove to us that you're not capable of working, because a lazy person who gets money from the government is always going to continue to take money from the government, and they're always going to vote for the party who says they are going to either keep giving it to them or give them more. And that's part of the culture that we have to change in America. But yeah, if you've got buy-in to, the tax system, look, there's people, in fact, one of the people I think I referenced it a little while ago was in rural Tennessee, somebody that I knew. I worked with her years and years and years ago, and she lived out in the middle of nowhere, and she used to do taxes for people. And she talked about the earned income, was it the earned income credit, earned income tax credit? And people would intentionally keep their earning low because they would get refunds for taxes that they did not pay. Basically, it's an incentive for lower income people to get a monster tax return. And they're not putting it in a 401k. They're not investing it. They're not doing anything. They're taking it and buying big screen TVs with it. So we need to, these are things that we need to start to revamp. If you were saying, well, I can't work anymore for the rest of the year, otherwise I'm going to make too much money, that's a problem. That's at that point, you're a net negative to society. And should you have a buy-in for how we're spending money? That's an interesting thought. Let's see. I'm going to read some comments. Boy, we got some really crazy comments. If you're new here, feel free to hit all the free buttons below if you enjoy the content. Join the community. We are a fast-growing community. Yeah, okay. We got a lot of lefties in here tonight. Interesting. That's fun. No, they're everywhere. TDS is a mind virus. I think it probably spreads quicker than the Hantavirus. Let's see. Ben says, I think Alex absorbed all the testosterone that was supposed to go to Rex. Let's see. The wall is going to... The wall that Mexico was going to pay for cost United States taxpayers $81 million. You know what really hasn't been built is the wall, but you know what has happened? Net negative migration. Interesting that given the same infrastructure that Joe Biden had that let millions of people, your president let millions of people across the border, and with the same infrastructure, Donald Trump cut it to zero. To all you libs, turn the fake news to, turn off the fake. There you go, Gypsy K. For all you libs, turn off the fake news, CNN, MS Now, The View, all that. Boy, I tell you, I feel bad for those folks. I really do. They are captured by a mind virus. They are locked into an algorithm that is feeding that's doom scrolling nonsense. They're not looking at facts. They're not looking at what's actually going on in the world. They look at the world through a little soda straw, and it's a liberal soda straw. It's all they can see. It's interesting. What's happening in the world? And blah, 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 blah. Stop the cap. Let's see. Big phone bill give massive tax rate. Let's see here. Capitalism is coming. Oh boy. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I know. Lots of the candy cult in the chat tonight. Very let's just say they speak in short sentences. Oh, not a lot of detail, just ad hominem. That's okay. Not to mention they were selling parts. Not to mention they were oh yeah, they like you could find the parts of his wall when he originally started building it in his first term. They were selling them for cheap, these wall segments. They had no interest in the border because for all the liberals in the chat tonight, you are gluttons for power. That's what your party is about. You are the party. It's the party of just gluttonous power and control, theft, socialism, communism, all of these things that drive the ideology of your party. That is what you're backing. Now, if you're not for that, and you're just going to say, well, I think I listened to a Candace Owens episode, and so now I think that, Trump is a PDF. Trump is, this, that everything's controlled by AIPAC, that if that's the only place that you can go. First off, I do feel for you. You are not an informed person, and you should hang on to this channel because I'll give you the pros and the cons, as I have done tonight, by the way. Yeah, the vertical stream, it gets like wild. Yeah, the vertical stream gets wild because, and this is why I was testing it, honestly, obscure moderator, is that that captures people that are doom scrolling. It's the people looking for the dopamine hit. And so when you come to a vertical stream, that's the people that are the most amped up and angry because they've been listening to Candace Owens, and I don't know, Nick Fuentes and Myron Gaines and whoever else, just flipping through, doom scrolling, and it's all AIPAC, Jews. Then they come to somebody who's talking about and trying to have a rational conversation, and they're not capable of doing that. So I know that sounds like I'm insulting you guys, but from your comments, it's pretty uncouth, I will say. But you're right. The vertical stream, people are there to see legitimate information and to, because look, I'm not a radical. You guys that have followed my channel for a while, you know that. And I rarely fly off the handle. Let's see. I'll go ahead and take care of that one. There we go. That's only the second person I've ever banned. That's interesting. There we go. Oh, there's 2 people I can ban. That's awesome. Thank you, by the way. Thanks for the moderators. I appreciate you guys. All right, let's see. Any other comments? I will give them for not being able to make great points. If they want to have a discussion in the chat, they certainly can type fast in short sentences. No more than 2 words at a time. Let's see. I hated when Hab bought a new host. This is funny. I have no idea what the context for this comment is. This is funny because I grew up of the generation that would drink out of the hose. Like that's where you got your water. You're outside. You're actually outside playing, and it's funny. A new hose does taste different than an old one. It's like the age. I don't know. I have no idea what the rest of your commentary is, but that one I think is funny. Unless I missed a joke and it was a bad one, but Ebola. I used to work in flight healthcare in America and came back to the United States. Oh, wow. A patient with Ebola. I used to work in flight healthcare in America and came back to the United States with Ebola. They were all, I need to find the rest of that one. Healthy and not experiences other than fever. Luckily for them, they survived Ebola. They were all young. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, the Ebola that one was gnarly. And it, I don't even recall what the total effect of it was, like how bad it got across the country. It was only a few cases here in the U.S., but I think if I remember correctly, didn't it hit Africa really bad? Here we go. Saved in Virginia. I don't think Trump is delusional about anything. Yeah, I don't either. Let's see. Oh, okay. So you thank you for providing context, Megan. I appreciate that. Oh. That's funny. They cannot hold a conversation. I don't know, Natalie. I think some of them probably are. Yeah. I think most of them, but some of them are bots, I'm sure. I'm doing well. USMC. Hoorah. Hard charger. I was not a Marine. I was in the Army. Not a Marine, but love my, in fact, I've told this story before. I don't know if you've ever been on this channel before. I'm trying to remember. Cannon 31 USMC. I don't remember if I've seen you on this channel. If you are, welcome, by the way. Feel free to hit the like button, but and subscribe to the channel. But when I went to a military college, and I had a roommate that was a Marine. So I was in the Army. One of my roommates was a Marine. The other was in the Air Force. It's a state military school, so we had, all the services. But I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well also. All right, obscure the doom scrolling runs. They're probably much happier if they put their phones away for a bit. Yeah, or just watching, I don't know, watching landscape. Does that change your brain chemistry? They can just be AI will be a godsend for the short 2-1 worders. They can just speak and AI will decipher and make sense of it. There you go. Oh, that's funny. Okay, well, I think I have come to the end of the comments. I want to welcome everybody that's new to the channel. Yeah, we definitely had some excitement from the vertical crowd. I actually had to ban 2 people. That was fun. So look, and for you guys that know, I am very liberal with what people are allowed to say in the comments. But generally speaking, violence is not generally 100% of the time. Violence will get you banned, and when you start throwing around the more explicit stuff, that'll get you banned as well. I do that kind of as a self-protective measure, to be honest. YouTube, it's only a matter of time before YouTube starts banning people for stuff that's even in their chat they didn't even say. I'm waiting for it to happen. Okay. All right. Well, guys, watching from San Francisco. Okay. Yep, we've come to the end of it. Let me make sure, go all the way back down to the bottom. Yep, got it all. Oh, Natalie. Grandson getting out of boot camp in June. Marines. That's awesome. Is it bad? Squid Man. Good to see you, Squid Man. Is it bad that I love watching the left meltdown? No, it's not. It's not. I wish there was some way that even in the most calming of voices, you could try to calm them. You could try to calm them down. But Trump derangement syndrome, Israel derangement syndrome, doesn't matter where it's coming from. Honestly, it's the hate. It's just the pure unadulterated hate. It's not about the ideas. It's not about the policies. It's just about hate. And it becomes their religion, to be honest. It's a response to somebody offending you on a religious level. And yeah, I think that between that and doom scrolling, getting that dopamine hit, and you're just watching hateful content all day long, it doesn't end well for anybody. It's not a good thing. But it's the meltdowns, we just kind of watch it, and hopefully, there's people that are trying to escape the left. They're trying to, they come around eventually. Maybe some of the younger folks that once they get a job and they're not living in their parents' basement anymore, that they realize that, I need to be a responsible adult now. So it's an awakening. Everyone hit that like button. There you go. Yeah, everybody hit that like button. I appreciate you guys. God bless you guys. God bless America. We'll keep praying for the haters. It's okay. We're going to keep running the vertical streams for a while until it just gets completely out of control. But I'll see you guys in the next episode. Let me hit there it is. There's my graphic coming up. Have a great night. In fact, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be back on tomorrow night. Same bat time, same bat channel. God bless, guys. Have a great night.